Hi, dear friends. I'm going to talk today about how we can love ourselves when we make mistakes. And we all make mistakes, don't we? So, we have been talking about self love, and this must be a very vital question in your minds that how can I love myself when I. Now, mistakes are a big, huge part of life. We all make mistakes. Some mistakes are small, some and very insignificant. Some mistakes are really huge, and maybe you cannot even undo it. But whatever mistakes that I make, whether small or big, there are feelings that I have because of the mistakes. I might feel anger at myself for making the mistake. I might feel guilty that I have made such a mistake and maybe hurt the other person. I might blame myself. I might feel really sad about it. So feelings come up as a natural process when I make these mistakes. There are other kinds of repercussions that also happens when I do mistake or when anyone does mistakes. We might lose our self-confidence. And say I make a mistake when I'm doing a presentation, and then the next time when I do the presentation, I might not be so confident. Or I might lose credibility and trust. The other person doesn't trust me as much, or my family members don't trust me as much because I've made that mistake. I might also lose motivation. I might not have the courage to be able to repeat that task again. Now, there are, as you see, when I do a mistake, there are so many effects to it. There are so many ripple effects to it. So mistakes affect us in multiple ways. The question that you might arise in you is, how can I love myself when I make mistakes? Or do I even deserve to love myself? So let me give you an example. Some days back, it happened that I was talking to someone, and as I was talking, I said some things that I shouldn't have. Now, this came out very inadvertently, but it was quite hurtful, and the other person felt hurt about it. And I really, as soon as I said that, I really realized, oh my God, I have said these things, and I have no idea why I did it. I had no clue why I said the things that I said, and I cannot retract it. And this whole story got much more complicated because the other person really got offended and they were very hurt, and the relationship was kind of ruptured. Now, having a very sensitive nature, I started having a self reproaching conversation within myself. When I started telling things like, how could you say that? Couldn't you have thought a little bit more before talking like that? Or couldn't you have been more careful? And then, of course, the question why, right? They would keep asking that question again and again. Why? Why did I do this? Why am I behaving so badly? Why can't I be more careful about these words that I speak? I've done this so many times. Why can't I be more careful? And just repeating this again and again found my energy level started dipping, my mood worsened, and I really felt bad about myself. Now, while we make mistakes, while we may hurt the other person, it's important to realize that we are hurting too. That mistakes, when mistakes happen, most of the time the focus is on the mistake or focus is on the person who is feeling offended or hurt or who has got impacted by the mistake. But what we don't realize, and what I want to do in this video is just bring back the focus to ourselves and look at ourselves and see that we are hurting too, that we need self-love and we need self-compassion. And self-love and self-compassion will help us come out of that state of, oh, we have made a mistake, and be able to, restore the sense of normalcy and undo the damage that has been done, both for ourselves as well as for the other person. So how do we really make amends? So I would say the two-stage approach that I use is, first stage is give myself self-love. Give myself self-love. And how do we do that? By giving ourselves self-love, we move from a place of self-blame to self-love, from self-blame to self-love. And so there are a couple of steps that comes to my mind as I talk about it. One is, first of all, we need to acknowledge the mistake. We need to acknowledge that, yes, I did a mistake. We don't want to sweep that action under the carpet and pretend it never happened, right? Just acknowledging it means we take ownership of it. We recognize it for what it is. And that kind of honesty is a must in self-healing. When we are trying to heal ourselves, we have to be honest and authentic. So that's the first step, acknowledging my mistake. The second thing is acknowledge my intention. Did I intend to make that mistake? No, of course not. I didn't. I didn't want to. And that is the difference. When you acknowledge the intention, you realize and you tell yourself that this is not an intentional crime. This is not something that I wanted to do. It just happened. That's why it's called a mistake, right? So just acknowledging that my intention was not to hurt or harm the other person. My intention was not to do the mistake. My intention was to do the task correctly or speak the words, have the conversation correctly. And so it is just a mistake. It's not a crime. The third thing that we need to do is to identify the pattern. Now, in my case, as I was speaking, I said those words, and I have said things like that in the past and later regretted it. And when I was introspecting about it, I realized that, yes, I have done that many times. And it's almost like it's a pattern. It's a pattern that I have brought in from my personality, from my childhood. It's a pattern of communication. I have no clue how the pattern came in, but the pattern is there. And that pattern tends to repeat itself, and it comes out and manifests as mistakes. So sometimes those patterns that we have within us can be helpful and has helped us in many situations. But the same very patterns in a different situation can cause damage and make us make a mistake. So just acknowledging that it is a pattern that is there in my subconscious mind. And the fourth thing is that, of course, you just breathe and give yourself self-love. By this time, when you've acknowledged your mistake, acknowledged the intention, identify the pattern, you're in a much better state to give yourself self-love. So just take a couple of deep breaths in and just tell yourself, talk to yourself kindly and tell yourself that, yes, I did a mistake. I didn't intend to do it. It's a pattern that's lurking and I have to work on those patterns. But let me give myself self-love. I understand myself. I am compassionate to myself. And I'm trying every day in every way. I am getting better and better and better. So just telling ourselves that in a very gentle voice, very kindly giving ourselves kindness and compassion, that goes a long way in healing our patterns and improving our communication, in reducing our mistakes. So this, my friends, is stage one. Stage one is acknowledge your mistakes, acknowledge your intention, identify the pattern, and then breathe in self-love. Now, stage two. Now, you might say, okay, but the mistake has been done. What do I do about it? So that is what stage two is about. That is taking corrective action. Now, you cannot come to stage two unless you go through stage one. So once you've completed the stage one process, you come to stage two, where you start to take remedial action or corrective action. And what do? You start with acknowledging a need to repair and restore. Acknowledge the fact that a mistake has been done. Yes, we have already acknowledged that. But now I need to do something about it to restore it. I need to acknowledge my need to restore and repair it. In my example, I did that by just sending a text message and saying that, hey, I shouldn't have said those words. No matter what the situation was, no matter what else had happened, but those words should not have been spoken. And just saying that, acknowledging that intention to the other person made me feel so much good, so much better. So that is the first thing. It's just stating and clarifying and expressing to the other person that I want to repair and restore. Now, every time it may not be possible to repair or restore in such an easy way. Now, suppose you know, burnt your curry when you're cooking, and that's the mistake that you made. You might repair and restore by not just saying, I'm sorry I burned the curry, but I'm going to make another one. Or there could be different ways that you repair and restore, but just acknowledging that there is a need to repair and restore is very, very important. The second thing is you learn how to handle the feelings of the other person. Now, just because you have moved through these processes doesn't mean the other person is is going to be very happy with you and forgive you and let go of the process, especially if it's a boss or if it's your child or it's your spouse, it's your neighbor, anybody. It could be anybody. You might have said or done something. It could be a mistake in communication. It could be a mistake in the process. It could be a mistake in the task. Doesn't matter. The other person may not kind of recover quickly. So at this point of time, you have to learn how to handle the feelings of the other person. So for me, what helped me is I realized that it is my pattern, and I have already acknowledged that, and I've already expressed, that it was a mistake to the other person. Now I have to detach from the negative feelings that the other person is sending me. And I used a technique called from the Phyllis Crystal method. I call it the figure eight. I use that to disengage myself from their reactions, and that was very helpful. But you can use any technique that you want, but just basically tell yourself that my feelings are mine, that is their feelings, it's their anger. I don't have to take ownership of that. And then once we do that, we go to a place where you just tell yourself, let time do the work. Let time do the work, because everything takes time. Just as it took time for us to move from self-blame to self-love gently, we have to give the other person time. We have to give the task the time, and also ourselves the time to gain back confidence. The next time when we repeat the conversation or repeat the task, we are able to do it successfully. That is when you really feel the sense of I've overcome my mistake, right? So let time do the work, and that's very, very important. And the next part of the process is give myself self-forgiveness. By this time, you have reached a place where you can really forgive yourself and complete the process of self-compassion and self-love by giving yourself self-forgiveness, just telling yourself the words, I forgive you. I forgive myself for making the mistake. I have a good intention. I tried my best, and I am trying not to repeat it again. So this kind of completes the whole journey of self-love. And then the follow-up to that would be, at some point of time when you feel comfortable, look at the pattern, because that was the genesis, and work with the pattern to change it. And that might take a longer time. You might need some help. You might need to go to another person, but you just learning and acknowledging that you need to work with that pattern and finding ways to change and heal that pattern is very, very important. So this was what I wanted to share today. This was the two-stage approach of giving yourself self-love when we make a mistake. So the first stage is just acknowledging what's going on within ourselves, acknowledging a mistake, acknowledging the intention, and then identifying the pattern, and then giving ourselves self-love. And then the second stage, we start to take remedial action. First acknowledge the need for remedial action. Second is handle the anger or the feelings of the other person. And then the third thing is let time take its, do the work. Let's just give time an opportunity to do the healing. and finally giving ourselves self-forgiveness. And then when we have completed all of this, we'll be in a better position to go back to the pattern and start working on undoing the pattern. There are different ways to do that. So this is about how I can give myself self-love when I've made a mistake. And I hope this video was helpful to you. Do share your comments below and write back to me what else you would like to hear from me. With this, we complete our series on self-love. I hope you found it interesting. We are going to soon start with a series about anxiety management. If that is an area that is being impacting you, please watch out and follow my page if you are interested in those topics. So have a wonderful day and remember to practice self-love. Thank you.